Is set to begin his tenure at Chelsea at 1st July 2024, and Maresca's system of play is pegged on positional player football. Now, today we are going to try and do an intricate analysis of one of the most important potence of positional play that Enzo Maresca will employ at his team. This system will enable his team to be very unpredictable in attack, and I'm going to explain to you why. So, Enzo Maresca worked with Pep Guardiola at Manchester City and harnessed the use of the half space. The half space is the horizontal position between the center back and the full back. Now, looking at this clip, you're going to see how this happens. Now, when Manchester City are building up, you can see that Manchester City have created a 5-man attack, and this is by either a striker, 2 players operating in between the lines, and 1 player dropping between the center back and the full back in that region known as the half space region. Now, you can clearly see that his wingers start out quite high and wide, while there are 2 players playing in behind the striker who are occupying the position between the fullback and the center back. And when a fullback tries to move out wide to try and cover a winger, then that space opens up, and that space is the one that is known as the half space that can actually be occupied. You can see that space between the center back and the fullback. Now, this space is so deadly and so dangerous that Manchester City, a lot of teams usually try to limit Manchester City's opportunity space of being able to manipulate this position, because from this position they're able to create dangerous situations for their opponents. Now, look again at this structure. Look at the position of the wingers. Look at the position of the 2 attacking midfielders. Now, looking at the right hand side, you can see the position of the winger who's holding the width out there, and you can see a player who's making runs into the half space. Now, our topic of discussion today is going to be about the half space, and you're going to look at how Maresca can employ it and how he can do it. If you like this video, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. So Pep Guardiola is a very intricate manager. He uses positional play and is heavily dependent on a system where players are able to buy into his ideas and are able to move in zones that enables them to be able to control the game. Now, I'm going to show you how this half space works. Now, looking at how this Manchester City structure is, you can look at the 5 zones. You can see the wingers, the attacking midfielders, and the striker. Look at the position of the attacking midfielders in this system and the position of the wingers, and look and try and anticipate how the wingers, the attacking midfielders, are playing so close to the striker, and this is actually opening up space in the wide areas. The wide position of wingers is really giving this team unpredictability. And because also the team is creating overloads on one side, you can see the winger can afford to stay out wide and look to receive the ball. The reason why the right winger is able to receive the ball is without any pressure is because of this player who's playing in the half space. Because now the fullback is much more concerned about trying to track this player, and the winger is out and free. By the time the winger will receive the ball in this position, he is making that purposed run because of the position of the player of the attacking midfielder in the half space. And this is what makes Manchester City so unpredictable, and Manchester City actually scored this goal. Looking also at this other clip here, you can see the positions of the wide players, and you can see the positions of the players in between the lines. Understand, the half space regions are not fixed regions, but rather they are regions or spaces between center backs and fullbacks. These are horizontal spaces that are usually acted upon. So how can Enzo Maresca's system actualize these positions on the pitch? That is what we are going to discuss, and I'm going to explain to you tactically how he does this. So looking at this tactical structure, I told you lineups are just on paper, but on the pitch, generally the pitch was divided into 14 zones, and zone 14 was the most important one, because you see the zone 14 is where you could now be able to effect all these things that you wanted. And because of this, zone 14 can only hold 1 player, and that is an attacking midfielder. This attacking midfielder had all the creativity burden on him to look to play wingers who are making diagonal runs, looking to play 1-2s with the center forward. But When a team is defending with a 4-4-2, they are able to outnumber this number 10. They're able to deny this number 10 any opportunity on his space to actually look to create. And Guardiola's pitch system that was introduced, that has two half space regions. Rather than having the number 10 in this central zone of the pitch, you actually place the number 10 on the half space region. And the half space region is very important because now you cannot have just one number 10, but you can have two number 10s. And once you have these two twin 10s, you are able now to manipulate the back line by having an extra player in that attacking lineup. And having an extra player in that attacking lineup and pushing your fullbacks in field gives you much control and domination of the game. These players in this position are in between the lines because they are not in the lines with the striker, and also are operating in the half space region because they are operating between the fullback and the centre back. So if a fullback is drawn to this player, then the pass to the winger is on, as we've seen in the previous clip. And if you have deadly wingers in this position, these are wingers who are able to receive the ball and immediately look to cut in diagonally and look to try and effect the game from this diagonal position. That is one way of doing it. Also, alternatively, this player in this position, if a fullback decides to cover the winger, then this player can receive the ball. And this player, being a creative player, is dangerous because he can either slip the ball to the striker if the centre back decides to follow them, or attempt a shot on goal. And this is why this player is so unpredictable. And the position that he holds is always creating disjointed, is always disorienting the opposition's defense line. Now, having this player in this kind of position and having two of them in this kinds of position, if a midfielder decides to track them, then it is also again a problem because now the midfielders in midfield can have more time on the ball, the ability to actually pick players. They can actually, the number 6 or the player who dictates the tempo of the game can even look to push forward with the ball and attempt to score a goal, something that Rodri has done numerous times for Manchester City, and can also give them a good field of view to actually be the deeper creative hub of the team. This player can be, the ball can get to him either by, if you have a holding midfielder who's very composed, he can play that line breaking pass and actually find him in between the lines. That is one way you can do it. And this can allow him to actually receive the ball because he has many passing options. Remember, unlike the number 10, the player in the half space can pass the ball to the wide areas. He can pass the ball in field. He can pass the ball forward. He can pass the ball backwards, meaning that he has all 4 options when he has possession. And these options enables him to be very, very dangerous. And having a creative player in that position makes it so difficult to defend against. That's why De Bruyne has really thrived under Guardiola in this system. And if the ball is played down to the winger in these kinds of situations, and the winger manages to draw a fullback out of position, the player in the half space region can be the ones to make those runs and attempt cutbacks and crosses across the 6-yard space, or attempt a shot on goal. Something that we've seen again, De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva look to try and do time and time again for Manchester City. It's also something that Martin Odegaard has done excellently for Arsenal. Now, these players do not play in line with the strikers, but rather they drop deep and actually play in between the lines. They play in between the lines to enable them to create disorientation in the opposition backline, meaning that they can receive the ball in between the lines, and once they receive the ball, they have multiple options. They can also know when to drop deep, when to push forward, when to make runs in behind, and when the striker drops deep to try and receive the ball, they are very good players in actually making those third man runs and actually can receive the ball back to the goal from the holding midfielder. And this is what makes this position very, very unpredictable. Now, having this position so unpredictable in this fashion, and actually having players who are able even to drop deep, look to receive the ball from this position, and look to try and link up the play with a forward who's making runs beyond that line, makes this team so dangerous and so potent. And that's why you always find De Bruyne picking up those pockets and spaces in between the lines. It's because the structure, the ability to know how to manipulate the half space region, makes a team so dangerous. When the team loses the ball high up the pitch, they are the first players to actually engage in the counter press, meaning that they are players who their position enables them to be very close to the ball, making them to be the first line of defense. they are the most hardworking players in the team. Their position on the pitch is very, very difficult. And once they occupy this position, the opposition is constantly looking to try and cover them because you're having creative players in this position. And when the team tries to create that wide overload, you'll realize that one of the inside forwards is actually going to pick up that position in the half space, drag in a fullback inside, and once he drags in the fullback inside, then it opens up room to the far side winger who can actually afford to stay wide to receive the quick switch of play. And something that we saw Raheem Sterling and we have seen players such as Jeremy Doku actually get at Manchester City is because now they're able to receive the ball in these kinds of position and immediately look to either make direct diagonal runs into the box and attempt to score a goal, or even try to look to pass the ball to the half space player if the fullback attempts to try and commit to them. Looking at this Maresca 3-5 system, you can see two players, Djibril Bilhol and Ndindi, in this two half space positions, and their position is very crucial because once they're in this position, they know how to actually look to play and find the striker. And once they play the ball to the striker who has dropped deep and pulled the center back out of position, you can see they are already looking to make that run and a simple pass, and you can already see they are 1v1 in goal because the position that they occupy all makes them to play as inside forward. Now this role was epitomized by De Bruyne and Gundogan in Manchester City's treble winning season. But this position has also been occupied by a Chelsea player, and that player who has played this position perfectly is Cole Palmer. Cole Palmer started as a right winger under Maurizio Pochettino and used to cut in and actually look to occupy the right half space position. That's why Palmer was very unpredictable and a very dangerous goal threat from this position. Now, Palmer in this position had situational awareness, having worked under Pep Guardiola, understood how this position enabled him to actually make his creative power shine, make his creative power bloom, and make him to actually be one of the best players in operating from this position. Palmer knows this position, and actually the right half space for Chelsea is well caught. But the question is the left half space position, which Maurizio Pochettino has attempted to use Enzo Fernandez and Christopher Nkunku, who likes to drift towards that position. The question is, can these two players actually manage to play in that position? Can they play in that position and actually get the best out of that position? That's the question that we're going to look at. Enzo Maresca, learning from Pep Guardiola this situation, can actually use the half space philosophy to create a potent and dangerous weapon for Chelsea that can see Chelsea make huge strides next season. If you've enjoyed this analysis, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget this. Thank you.